Okay, so we've got a movie summary here for Bone Snatcher from 2003. And this looks like we're going for a deep dive into this bone-snatching creature and all the secrets hidden out in the desert.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool premise. Starts out with this research team. They're out in the African desert and they come across this weird rock shaped like an egg. They say curiosity killed the cat.
Mm-hmm.
They mess with it and all of a sudden, this terrifying creature bursts out and starts picking them off one by one. And the worst part, it doesn't just kill them. It leaves nothing but bones behind.
Yeah.
Then Dr. Chek arrives. He's brought in to figure out what happened.
Whoa, it's like giving off some serious alien vibes, and we haven't even gotten to the creature's abilities yet. I mean, how does something completely disintegrate its victims? Like, that's just bones left behind. Is that even possible?
Well, that's where the movie gets interesting. Blending sci-fi with some pretty unsettling stuff about the natural world. I mean, the speed at which this thing decomposes bodies, it really makes you wonder, could a creature actually evolve to do that? To survive in such a harsh environment?
Yeah, it makes you think, what else could be out there? Hiding in a place like the desert, adapting in ways we can't even imagine.
Exactly. And this creature, it's not just some mindless eating machine. There are hints that it's intelligent, strategic even.
Oh, yeah. It can just disappear, like
Yeah.
vanish into thin air, makes
Yeah.
it nearly impossible to track. And then there's the whole queen thing. What's that about?
That's one of the most interesting parts of the movie, this idea that there's a queen controlling the creatures.
Yeah.
It adds this whole other level of complexity, like social organization, something you wouldn't typically associate with a creature like this. It really makes you think about the natural world and how much we still don't know.
Okay, so we've got this creature that disintegrates bodies, disappears whenever it wants.
Yeah.
It might even be part of a hive mind. Oh, and we can't forget about the setting, the African desert. It's not just any desert, it's got its own history mythology, a real sense of the unknown. How do you think that plays into the movie?
The desert setting is super important. It's more than just a backdrop. It's practically another character. The vastness, the isolation, the scorching heat, it all adds to this feeling of vulnerability and dread. It's a constant reminder that these characters are totally alone, out there at the mercy of this unforgiving landscape.
Which makes the threat even more terrifying, right? I mean,
Yeah,
you're not just dealing with a creature, you're dealing with a creature that's perfectly adapted to this environment, a place where humans clearly don't belong.
absolutely. The desert becomes a symbol of the unknown, a place where the rules don't apply and anything can happen. It really plays on our primal fears, that anxiety about being exposed, vulnerable, lost in a world we can't control.
Speaking of things we can't control, let's go back to that egg-shaped rock. Where did that thing even come from? What was its purpose? I mean, the film doesn't really give us all the answers, and that's what makes it so unsettling.
Yeah, it's like the movie is leaving these questions open on purpose, like inviting us to speculate, to fill in the blanks with our own fears. It reminds us that even in a world where we think we know so much, there are still mysteries out there, things we just can't understand.
It makes you wonder if maybe sometimes it's better not to know, right? Sometimes ignorance is bliss, especially when you're talking about creatures that can turn you into a pile of bones in a matter of seconds.
Maybe. But humans are curious. We can't help but seek answers. Even though the unknown can be terrifying, it can also be a source of wonder and awe.
Well, the characters in this film definitely get a crash course in both terror and wonder. Let's talk about how they react to this bone-snatching creature. We've got Dr. Chek, our scientist hero, trying to figure this thing out, using logic and observation. And then we've got everyone else driven by pure instinct, just trying to survive.
Their reactions really show the different ways humans deal with the unknown. Some people are drawn to it, driven by a need to understand it, even if it's dangerous. Others are completely repelled by it, frozen by fear, and often it's a combination of both.
Makes you think about how you'd react in a situation like that, right? Would you try to study the creature? Would you run for your life? Or maybe a little of both?
It's a question that resonates with us all. And that's one of the things that makes Bone Snatcher so interesting. It's not just a monster movie. It's a film that explores what it means to be human, our capacity for courage and fear, our curiosity, and our instinct for survival.
It's a good reminder that even when faced with unimaginable terror, the human spirit can endure. We adapt. We even find a way to fight back.
Exactly. And the way the film uses suspense and unexpected twists, it keeps you on the edge of your seat. You're always wondering who's going to make it, who's going to fall victim to the creature, and how it's all going to end.
Speaking of twists, let's talk about how the movie keeps us guessing. One minute you think you understand the creature, then bam, it does something completely unexpected. Like that scene where it mimics a human face. Talk about creepy.
That element of surprise is so important. It plays on our primal fears. The fear of deception, the fear of being betrayed. And it reminds us that in the face of the unknown, we can be easily tricked. What we think we see might not be the reality.
It's like the film is saying, don't trust your eyes, and whatever you do, don't trust anything that goes bump in the night, especially if it can dissolve your bones.
Right. And don't forget about the sudden deaths. The way characters are killed off when they least expect it, it adds to the feeling of dread. Like you never know what's going to happen next.
It's like you're always waiting for the other shoe to drop, wondering who's next on the creature's menu.
And that feeling of anticipation, that tension, it's what makes the movie so effective. It keeps you hooked, drawing you deeper into the mystery, making you question everything you think you know about the creature and its motives.
So we've got this terrifying creature, a group of characters just trying to make it out alive, and a vast, unforgiving desert with secrets we can only imagine. What does it all add up to?
It adds up to a story that makes us question what we think we know about the world, about the limits of our knowledge, and about the strength of the human spirit. It's a story that stays with you long after the movie's over, making you wonder what other mysteries might be hidden in those unexplored corners of our planet.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground: the creature's abilities, the desert setting, the mystery of the egg, and how the characters react. But we've only just scratched the surface. There's still so much more to uncover about the Bone Snatcher, what motivates it, and how it changes our understanding of the world.
Yeah, we've laid the foundation. Now the real deep dive begins. We've talked about the Bone Snatcher and its abilities and that whole mystery surrounding it. But let's take a closer look at the characters and how they deal with this terrifying threat.
Yeah, let's start with Dr. Chek. I mean, he's obviously a brilliant scientist, but there's more to him than just brains. He's got this intense curiosity, like he needs to understand the unknown, even when it's dangerous.
What's interesting about Dr. Chek is that he represents the scientific approach to the unknown. Even when faced with something that completely defies logic, he tries to be rational, to observe, collect data, analyze, form hypotheses, the whole scientific method.
It's like he sees this horrifying creature as a big science project, even though all he has to work with are scattered bones and unanswered questions. But he's not just cold and calculating, is he?
No, you're right. He also shows compassion. He wants to protect others. He knows how dangerous this creature is to humanity, and he's determined to find a way to stop it, even if it means risking his own life.
So he's a complex character, a mix of intellect and empathy, trying to balance the scientific method with a very real and terrifying threat right in front of him. And then you've got Titus, the old guy who gives Dr. Chek that bone locket early on. It's like he knows something about the creature, some kind of ancient knowledge passed down through generations.
Yeah, Titus represents a different kind of knowledge. The wisdom of people who live close to nature, who understand its power and secrets. He's the one who talks about the creature being a queen, the first and last of its kind, and how it only consumes bones. These insights, at first some characters dismiss them, but they turn out to be super important in understanding the creature.
It's cool how the movie contrasts these two ways of knowing Dr. Chek's scientific approach and Titus's ancestral wisdom. They're both valuable, and it's the combination of the two that helps them understand the creature better.
It shows how important it is to consider different perspectives. Not to dismiss traditional knowledge as just superstition. Sometimes the answers we're looking for are hidden in the stories and beliefs passed down through generations.
Right, and we can't forget the other characters, like Mickey, who's skeptical at first, but eventually comes to terms with what's happening. They add another layer to the film, don't they?
Definitely. Their reactions, their fear, their desperation, it all adds to the suspense and tension. They remind us that even when we're facing the unknown, we're all human. We feel fear, doubt, even denial.
And the film doesn't shy away from showing how this whole ordeal messes with them mentally. They're trapped in the desert, stalked by this bone-snatching monster, forced to make impossible choices. It's a high-pressure situation.
Yeah, you got it. The film really explores the theme of survival.
Yeah.
Stripped down to its core. They've lost all their comforts, their technology, their sense of security. They have to rely on their instincts, their resourcefulness, and their ability to work together if they want to live.
The desert becomes the ultimate test, pushing them to their limits, physically and emotionally. The heat, the lack of water, the constant threat of the creature, and the mental strain of being hunted, it's a lot to handle.
It forces them to face their weaknesses, to make tough choices, and to question everything they believe.
And while they're struggling to survive, the film keeps reminding us of how vast and mysterious the desert is, a place where ancient secrets are buried, where the laws of nature can be broken, and where reality and nightmare blur together.
The desert becomes a symbol of the unknown, a blank canvas for our fears and imaginations. It represents the untamed parts of nature, the forces we can't control, and the mysteries we haven't solved.
The way the creature just blends into the environment, disappearing and reappearing. It's almost like it's part of the desert, like the landscape itself is protecting it.
That's a really interesting point. It suggests that there are forces at work that we can't comprehend. Ancient powers connected to the natural world. Powers we can only get glimpses of, but that have a huge impact on our lives.
And that feeling of the unknown is even stronger because of the creature's connection to the queen. It's like she's the one in control, orchestrating everything from behind the scenes. It adds a whole new level to the story.
Absolutely. The queen, she's shrouded in mystery, represents a higher level of intelligence, a force we can only speculate about. Her existence makes us question consciousness, the potential for complex social structures in simple organisms, and the possibility of even more powerful entities out there hiding in the shadows.
It's like the film is hinting at a whole ecosystem of creatures we don't know anything about, a hidden world operating right under our noses. It's both fascinating and terrifying.
And that's what makes Bone Snatcher so great.
Yeah.
It doesn't just entertain, it makes us think. It makes us question. And in the end, it leaves us with a sense of wonder and awe at the vastness and mystery of the universe.
Speaking of wonder and awe, the film also knows how to play with our fear of the unknown. The creature is so scary because we don't understand it. We don't know where it came from, what it wants, or how to stop it.
It really taps into that primal fear, using the desert and the creature's abilities to create a constant feeling of unease and dread.
And it's not just the creature itself. The film uses suspense and atmosphere to keep us on edge. We're always waiting for the next attack, never knowing when or where it will happen.
The pacing is perfect. It builds tension slowly, using subtle cues and foreshadowing, and then bam, the creature attacks, and we're left shocked and horrified.
It's like a slow burn, gradually turning up the heat until it boils over. And that uncertainty, that feeling of being on edge, it really gets to you.
It reflects our own anxieties about the unknown. We live in a world flooded with information. But there are still so many things we don't know. Bone Snatcher reminds us that there are still mysteries out there, things that challenge our understanding and make us feel unsafe.
It's like the film is saying, we might think we have it all figured out, but there are still things out there that can surprise us, terrify us, and make us question everything.
And that leads us to the ending, where the true nature of the threat is revealed, and the characters have to make tough choices with consequences that will stay with them.
So we've been on this crazy journey with Dr. Chek and everyone else, facing this creature that just doesn't make sense. But let's talk about that ending. Remember that weird egg-shaped rock from the beginning? It wasn't just some random rock.
No, it was a nest. And what was inside changes everything. I mean, the creature we saw, the one collecting all the bones, it wasn't the real threat. It was just a worker, following orders from something much bigger and way more complex.
The queen.
Good.
And when they finally come face to face with her, she's not what you'd expect.
Yeah, the film flips the script. Instead of this giant, terrifying monster, we see a creature that almost looks delicate. But that's where the real danger is. The queen isn't about brute force. She's the brains behind the operation, the intelligence controlling everything.
It's a pretty scary thought. They're not just acting on instinct. They're part of a network. A hive mind with the queen calling the shots.
Exactly. And that raises the stakes. It's not just about surviving individual encounters anymore. It's about understanding and fighting a threat that's organized, intelligent, on a whole other level.
And then Dr. Chek has to make this impossible decision. Destroy the queen, even though it might wipe out the whole species, or find another way to stop the threat without causing more harm.
It's a dilemma that goes beyond the immediate danger. It's about our responsibility as humans. When we encounter something we don't understand, do we just destroy it? Or is there a way to coexist, even with creatures that scare us and threaten our safety?
In the end, Dr. Chek decides to destroy the queen, which means he destroys the other creatures too. It's a win, but it's bittersweet. Humanity is safe, but an entire species is gone.
It really makes you think about the consequences of our actions. What gives us the right to decide the fate of another species, even if it's dangerous? It's a tough question. And the film doesn't give us easy answers. It leaves us grappling with the ethical implications.
But even though the queen and the creatures are gone, the film doesn't exactly tie everything up neatly in those last few moments. As Dr. Chek and the others wait to be rescued, there's this lingering feeling of unease.
Yeah, that's what makes the ending so great. It hints that the story might not be over. Are there other queens out there? Other nests waiting to hatch? The film doesn't say for sure, but it plants that seed of doubt, that unsettling possibility.
So after diving deep into Bone Snatcher, what are your thoughts on this creature? Is it just evolution, something supernatural, or something else entirely?
The film doesn't give us a simple answer, and that's what makes it so interesting. It leaves us with more questions than answers. It makes us think about the mysteries of nature and the limits of what we know.
And that's what the deep dive is all about. Uncovering cool facts, exploring those unsettling what-ifs, and leaving you with something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the desert and the mysteries of Bone Snatcher.